Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too. All right, welcome into this week's episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Today we have trainer Nathan Brennan with us. I've gotten to know Nathan over the past year. He's an excellent coach, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Brennan. I'm an online nutrition and fitness coach. So specifically who I work with is I help athletes and hikers mainly who want to come to me, who want to help build confidence in their bodies so they can scale to new heights. So if we're talking with the athlete, I had the opportunity to work with college football players who are come for nutrition coaching, how to gain weight the right way, a good weight itself, and they can be ready for when NFL teams come and for the draft process and sign of the team. And the other side of what I do as a coach is helping hikers, just help them again build confidence through their exercise, nutrition, so they can reach those hiking adventures to they always dreamed of. So it's kind of like they're different types of clients or population, obviously, but they're really fun to work with, and I'm so grateful to be able to help these types of individuals to their dreams.
Awesome. Yeah. So Nathan's got a lot of experience working with different populations here. So he's going to share with us a pretty cool topic today. I'll let him kind of introduce it, and then we'll lead the discussion from there.
Yeah. So what I want to keep this simple for what I'm going to share, and that is kind of like the 5 fat loss nutrition hacks. So you want to take pen and paper here. This is a really good one, episode to write down and to really kind of get dialed in, especially with this time of year, as this recording is happening in December, and you can apply this right away. And I think this is going to help you. So the number one thing I see with nutrition a lot is priming your environment. How do we mean by environment? It's basically like you're at home. So, where you store your food, in that case, your fridge, your pantry, cupboards, office space, even your car, even of all places. So what I mean by priming the environment is it's really just like, are you easily triggered seeing like the bag of chips on the counter, or the Reese's peanut butter cups that your neighbor dropped by for the holidays? Or you might see like if you have like a lot of friends come and watch football, or neighbors, and you're having the lot of processed foods and all that. Or another good example, maybe you have like the kind of pantry. There's different types of pantries people have, but if it's like the rolling one, it shows everything, like the sauces, the you name, just all the stuff we know that may not be the best. What I kind of recommend is like rearrange the space and hide the junk food. That's the big one there, hiding it, or basically just throwing it away. Or even better is just not bringing those types of foods in your house. And that's kind of the key thing is like, for me, like I know where my trigger foods is like kind of like chips, tortilla chips. And I just like, I don't do well with it sometimes if I eat a lot of it with kind of the grains and all that for me specifically. But if I see something there, like it's easily visible, I'm going to, have it. One of the things that helps me is if we take a bottle of water, having that priming your environment can help that too. Or what I also do is I buy some RX bars or some other like Lara bars in my pantry that are something that's good to go and quick, that they're minimally processed type foods that's going to help nourish you if you're especially on the go person, especially if you're doing a lot of holiday shopping, running errands. So again, it's just kind of prime your environment. If you're in that, and if you take control of that, it's going to make a big difference.
Awesome. Yeah. Priming your environment, definitely something that's important. I always like to say, if it's in your house, you or somebody you love will eventually eat it. Right. And so typically we don't let food just, expire and just throw it away. We're going to eat it before it goes bad. So if you have a food that, you're struggling with, it's best to just kind of avoid getting it in the first place.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the thing like I see is like it could be anybody has their own kind of trigger food. One that I just the simplest is just don't buy, choose not to buy it.
Right.
And you can save your money somewhere else that's going to help nourish you and give you energy.
Mm,
Because I kind of follow the 80-20 rule when
mm,
coaching my clients. I mean,
mm-hmm.
80% choosing foods that are going to help you feel your body. And then 20% can be, if you like watching football, especially with this time of year with college football,
Right.
with the playoff or NFL, or I know we got basketball going on, having some of those foods, you can, have that for that short time, or maybe having someone, like if you're going to have that, they can invite and bring it over, and I just think it's important to have some form of that 80-20 rule. And that's what clients are more likely to kind of follow through there. So that's the kind of important thing I see is when we tell people the word diet, it can feel really kind of restricting,
Mm,
but rather we should be saying is it's going to help. Food's going to help you fuel you because that's
yeah.
what food is. It helps to give you fuel to exercise, to
Yeah.
move, and to be able to have the energy to do your work and
Mm.
to be, if you're completely starving yourself, you're not yourself. You're just some kind of, I don't know, Scrooge kind of person will say, I don't know, but
You
it's,
gotta get a Snickers, right? You're not
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, exactly. Just like the commercials they get there. And that's another thing I want to mention too, is I'm going to talk about this in another point is this is not much of a nutrition, but just generally, especially this holiday season, is the ads. Like the amount of ads you see on TV, not just
Yeah.
on TV, but on podcasts, on social media. Oh, I don't know. It's just like email. Like you get all these things. Like even on YouTube, like if you don't have the paid version, like all these ads like suck your energy away. And that's one thing I've been really conscious, like especially this holiday time, there's just going to be so much ads and it's just like it just drains, and you have to kind of protect your energy. And that's kind of a big thing. I notice the difference like when I'm listening to someone watching, I just skip the ads or
Mm.
basically that's again really important to be mindful of your environment, not just with food but just like screen time and just things you're listening to. Is it help serving you? And if it's not, maybe kind of look back and make an evaluation what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of a plug for Spotify Premium there, ad free, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, point number one, priming your environment.
Yeah, so that's kind of the number one is just priming that and just be like, how are you setting yourself? Because you can have the greatest nutrition plan in there, but if you're getting easily sabotaging yourself through foods that maybe are not serving you, maybe it's something to kind of look at. Number two is going to be make healthy food at home convenient. So one of the things I like to do is like uh, preserve your day off to prep meals. Like Sunday, that's one I like to do. It's kind of my day of rest.
Mm.
If you're too busy to do that, to take one day, invest in a meal prep service. And
Mm.
there's lots of them out there
Yeah.
that you can use. So again, like making healthy food at home. And I love grocery shopping. And I know some people dread it. I get it. But kind of having that list, what you need to kind of get is just taking that day. It can also be like, if that's too overwhelming, one thing you can do is just start doing like the night before
Yeah.
and just doing that kind of developing that like, and that's, just work bit by bit there. Or if one of the things that's going to help you make it convenient is like have a crock pot.
Mm.
I think any of us can, try to budget a crock pot that you can find
Yeah.
at the grocery store or online that you just put in whatever you put in, cook it for 6 to 8 hours, and you're good there. So,
Yep.
and again, if you need, any kind of recipes, feel free to, come to Anthony or me and we can kind of help, see what we can do to help with there. Or just Google it, and if you're talking about that. But the point is just to make it convenient. We're not asking you to become like kind of like chefs you see on the Food Network and all that, but just something that fits with your lifestyle. And that's kind of number two. Again, make healthy food convenient. aka meal prep.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you made a good point there about, going to the store. I think you said going to the store like, before the beginning of the week, prepping there. I try and always go to the store, typically like a Saturday morning or something. That way I know I'm gonna have Saturday, Sunday to kind of prep for the week. I'm kind of in the boat where I prep for like 2 or 3 days. I don't like prepping for 5 days. Day 4 or 5, I get a little sick of the same thing. Some people can eat the same thing every day. I kind of like to switch it up about halfway through the week. It kind of keeps me a little bit motivated too. So just like you said, there, start with where you are. Make it easy. Start with prepping one meal using crock pot meals. I love the air fryer. Things are easy. Little work if you got kids at home. You're busy, you're gone to work all day. Make it as simple as possible, and when you have a little bit more time, that's when you can start to kind of dive in and become a better chef. But
Yeah, I like you mentioned air fryer. We have an air fryer at home too. So one of the if we're talking like which I'm going to talk about protein later, I'm really excited to share it. I'm just taking one bit of time. But the air fryer you mentioned a good point is we have one and like I like to put chicken breasts in there. That's
yeah.
super easy. Like before the air fryer and like cooking chicken was just so like, oh my gosh, I don't want to like fried chicken.
Right.
The air fryer is just it's safe, it's healthy, and you're cooking in the right temperature. We love it. Like
Yeah.
we absolutely love having, and you can also make, if you want to kind of follow the 80-20 rule, like making sweet potato fries or regular, fries itself. We've done ribs too as well, like
Oh,
in the air
nice.
fryer. So you can get really creative with the air fryer. And again, if you can make that small little investment, that
Yeah.
can help you save some time. And that way, and then even the cool thing is you can put like seasonings that are,
Mm,
again, that's good. If you're taking chicken or
yeah.
ribs or sweet potato, we love it. Like, and chicken's a really good budget type of protein that's really good too.
Yeah.
So again, if you feel like beef, like a little too much, but again, that budget, chicken's good with the air fryer, and you're gonna love it there. So
Yeah. Definitely. Just made some chicken wings in the air fryer for lunch today. So yep, definitely love the air fryer.
yeah. So again, number two is making healthy food at home convenient. So number three, this is my absolute favorite here, is, and I take this to heart, and that is avoid distracted eating.
Mm,
So as we kind of talk about, this is the time of year, a lot of sporting events like football, basketball, or what you may watch, and we just love our team. We just love, we want to be in the action. We want to be with friends, family, or maybe just
yeah.
have the whole place to yourself and just kind of chomp. And I think we all might fall guilty after this because we're just, we want to feed ourselves, but we want to be in the zone.
Right.
And what I've noticed is when we do that, we become like hungry hippos. If you remember, we're just like, more and more. And I notice I do that. I pay attention to what's going on in the game rather than like, what am I actually tasting?
Right.
So distracted eating. So how do we combat this here? It's a common problem we all fall guilty is eat slow
Mm,
is kind of the first thing. So taking, just not rather than just kind of like becoming that, hippo, but eating slowly and just kind of nourishing. One thing that's kind of a little bit unique I like about this is showing gratitude. We just celebrate Thanksgiving at this time of this recording here. So I think it's important to show gratitude and give thanks. That way you're more conscious of what you're eating.
mm,
And yeah, distracted eating can not just watching TV, it can be like being on your phone or a tablet or work.
yeah.
Those things are just really, again, like, are we just eating and then we're just trying to do whatever we need to do? It's just something to be mindful of.
Yeah.
And if you're really concerned about calories and just making sure, like, I want to look my best, maybe this is something, to take a little bit more priority.
Mm,
Uh, so again, focus on chewing, drink water between bites, and I think it's going to really help you just to be aware what you're eating. There's actually a book I just read. It's called The 77 Laws of Six-Pack Abs.
mm,
If you haven't read it, I recommend they talk about this in the book as one of the laws. And it just kind of hit me hard. Like, yeah, like, are we just kind of like a kind of a dumpster waste, or, we're not, we're
mm.
actual humans that we digest the food. And I remember when I was in college, a decade ago, when I was kind of like watching my favorite college football team. And I just like, and it kind of affected my digestive system a lot. And later I
Mhm.
got acid reflux and all that mess. But fortunately, having the knowledge of nutrition and exercise helped a lot to fix that or manage that a little better. So just be aware, like what are the environments and what times of the day are we distracted eating? And I don't know about you, Anthony, of where maybe you've come across this in your life or family.
Yeah, no, I think that that's definitely something that with all my clients we work on. It's one of kind of the foundational habits. Eating slowly, eating until satisfied, and with that comes not being distracted. Obviously, like if you have toddlers, you have a baby, you're feeding, you're typically eating with you're helping other people eat, and so that can be very difficult and stuff. And so that's just something you have to be cognizant about too. um, we had a guest on the show um, a while ago now, and he was kind of Michael Butler. He was kind of mentioning about like when um, you're eating with your kids and stuff. You're they're not finishing their food. You may be taking a bite there. You're snacking on things constantly and kind of getting out of that being aware there. And so if you are, you do have young kids, you are helping them eat, just being aware, because a couple chicken nuggets here or there that you're adding, a few French fries left over that you're eating, doesn't seem like much. But if you're doing that every single meal, then it's going to add up and it's going to make, your weight loss goal, or maybe you're just trying to maintain where you are. It's going to make it much more difficult if you're not very aware and cognizant of what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I'll make it a perfect example. I'll put myself on the kind of spot here. So there's this really good kind of a gluten-free, or it's a keto, but it's grain-free. It's called Catalina Snacks. There's no kind of like, you know, processed sugars, and it's really yummy. And it's nutrition. They have high protein and fiber,
Mm,
and I love having it. I get the chance of it. Again, it's called Catalina Snacks. You can look it up on Amazon and Google. And I one time I had it, like was watching a football game, and I was just eating, like, wait, it's gone. I just want to keep eating more. And
yeah.
it's like, and so it's just those things that got to step back. Like, what's more important here? Is it, watching the game,
Hmm.
or, food, like nourishing yourself? And, probably, the mind itself, like, I want to watch the game, and, and it's just something you just have to kind of identify, like what is your environment, just being in alignment, I should say. So distracted eating, and again, it's okay. It's not like kind of like, hey, you're gonna look down upon, but it's something just, again, slowly eat. And then maybe if
Yeah.
you do it every day of the week, you're watching something or viewing, maybe cut back a day or two,
Hmm.
just like any other habits that we with yeah, with our clients.
Yeah, yeah, and I think if that's like you said there, if that's something you constantly do, maybe that's a nightly ritual for you and your family is to watch a show, you get a snack. One thing you could do then is you could portion out your snacks, and so instead of bringing the whole bag with you, you're portioning it out, and then once you're done with that, you're done. So then that's where kind of you got to be disciplined. Your word has to mean something there. When you say you're done, you only have one, and so you kind of got to keep yourself accountable there. But like you said, the 80-20 there, if you love chips, and that's something you want regularly, then you're going to have to portion size a little bit more if that's something you want to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, portion sizes are really important. As you mentioned, is like, that helps me a lot, is a way to, like, okay, especially like protein. We know, like, for men, you need not just one palm size, but two palm sizes per meal
Right.
for, having that amount of protein. Because one of the things, I was actually, just a quick story here. I'm part of a Toastmasters group working on kind of public speaking, and they
Nice.
talked about turkey or not turkey.
Yeah.
And so I got up. This was actually last night, and talking about, hey, turkey is also, if we're talking protein, it's going to help you keep your satiety levels, but also we know that it's with, muscle and protein synthesis, and if you get in all that science. But the important thing is, the protein is going to help you keep yourself full. It's going to help the collagen of your skin.
Mm.
But really important here is just to find foods also that are going to help fill you. So if we're talking fiber foods, so one of the things I was just out of town and I was at a airport lounge and they had one of the other things they offered was like vegetable sticks, like actual like celery. They had carrots and they had some hummus. So the carrots and the well, yeah, carrots and the celery going to have that fiber and it's going to keep yourself full. One of the classic foods I like is my go-to if we're talking on the go, and as a way to help you eat slow is as an apple. An apple is a great source of again to help you if you can just imagine just the things we talked about again, priming your environment with those fresh fruits and vegetables and lean proteins, making healthy food at home convenient. And if we're talking about the sports example, watching it, you can make your food while watching the game, or just or if it's at commercial break, like we talked with the ads, cutting up those things, or just like take a break and do that, and just really. And again, it takes it's a habits and all that, and we're not, it's not going to be like overnight success, but as you kind of develop like what's going to help me get the most energy, and how can I show up better for other people so I can do this because we're as humans, we're here to not just be our best, but we want to also give value, and we want to show up for our best. And so I want to go to number 4 here and that is dialing in your accuracy. Okay, and I'll repeat that again. Dialing in your accuracy, meaning how are you accurate with your food logging? So I'm big on this with my clients. So one of the way that I record my food intake is through MyFitnessPal. So using the MyFitnessPal app is really powerful. So like for today, I can tell like where how much food I'm eating. But again, the key thing, this is they say like it's best to have like a food scale, and you can buy that like anywhere online or Amazon or stores like that. And looking at the labels, just kind of seeing like, so like for example, I had before this call, I had a Lar bar, a clementine, and I had a kind of a almond flour bar. But these are just things that kind of search, and you can like look at the serving sizes and see that. But again, the weighing is going to give you your best results. So a lot of times with food logging, there's going to be some form of error, but as long as you keep it as accurate as possible, that's going to help you, see where, okay, I notice I'm maybe not getting as much protein in, or I'm getting too much dietary fat or carbohydrates, whatever your macro goals are. That's the key thing and that's going to help me because we can only remember so much. Like if you log it on the app or on paper, that's going to help you a lot to know what behaviors or what food choices you might need to focus on better. So I don't know about you, what's been your thoughts on kind of food logging?
Yeah. So it's definitely something that I do. I recommend all my clients to do it at least for a little bit. We usually start off people doing it, and there's different ways to do it. MyFitnessPal, I've used MyFitnessPal for years. Taking pictures of your food is a simple way to get started. Hand portion sizes, like whatever works for you. But like you said, though, being the more accurate you're going to be, the more strategic you can be about your diet as well. And for some people who maybe don't have a great relationship with food, tracking their food can seem overwhelming. It can kind of make them eat a little bit more than normal. For other people, it's empowering. For other people who think like, oh, I can't have this food, but they look at it and they're like, well, it's only 200 calories. You know what I mean? For some people, oh man, that's 200 calories. But for other people, oh, that's only 200. It's a totally different mindset for people. And so you really got to figure out what works for you. For some people, they've tracked in the past, they've had a bad experience with it, but they may not have understood what they were actually doing, or maybe they were eating back calories that they thought they gained back. I know MyFitnessPal does that. They add back your workout calories and stuff, and that can be tricky. It usually overestimates it and stuff. And so you don't have a coach. If you don't have somebody working with you, then yeah, it's going to be a frustrating experience there. But like you said, tracking is a great tool. It's definitely not something you're going to want to maybe do forever. You're not going to want to go track your mother-in-law's mac and cheese for Thanksgiving. Don't ask her to portion size that for you. It's not going to end well. Don't bring your food scale to family gathering, things like that. But yes, for most of the time, even though like I could tell you, I could guesstimate pretty accurately. How much some of the I tend to eat similar foods regularly, so I could tell you how much a portion size is. But if I am trying to, pack on a little bit of muscle or lose a little weight here and there, yeah, I'm gonna track my food a little closer, because the more accurate I can be, then the more I'm gonna be able to get closer to where I want to be faster.
Yeah, I like the point you mentioned. Like, yeah, don't bring the food scale to your mother-in-law's family dinner.
Yeah.
And I know we just got done with Thanksgiving, but yeah, we're not asking, and that'd be kind of weird to do that.
Yeah.
That's kind of some common sense there. So it's just the food scale is there to educate and just help you be aware.
Right.
Like one of the food, I'll give an example of foods is like potatoes, the sweet
Mhm.
potatoes. When you get a bag of potatoes, they all have different shapes.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of something to keep in mind, or any kind of food, like,
Yeah.
meat. And, one that's, if we're talking about like distracted eating, if we're going back, is crackers. And it tells you if you're keeping track of it. But I love crackers, but I think there's better foods out there that's going to help you get more fiber. Like we're talking vegetables and, fruits and, and that's kind of thing. We're not saying crackers are bad, but just like, you have to know, like, what is the tension are you, you're consuming? Are you just there to kind of be instant gratification, but it's kind of step back? What, and that's kind of the key thing is like, some people's like, well, I don't have time to track all this. And if you really are serious, of reaching the goal, tracking is going to really be helpful. And that's one thing I've been doing. And like, for example, this DEXA scan I got today earlier, that got me giving some ideas like, okay, that I noticed where my body fat level, weight, fat mass, and like, what can I do better to help maybe get my protein intake more? So, and just as a side thing, like a DEXA scan is a great, a small investment as well to help where you get, especially working with a coach and you providing that information to them. There's other ways to measure body fat. You can, there's the handheld ones. There's the old school way of like body weighing, but I don't see many people doing the kind of weigh yourself underwater. But DEXA scan is the gold standard, and that's kind of the key thing where you're at, and that can help you where you think you need to focus on, not just body fat, but also measures bone mineral density. So there's going to be foods that are going to be helping you serve that, and there's some are not. But again, it's that 80-20 rule that we want to follow through.
Right. Yep. Completely agree on that.
So then the last one I want to share is planning your protein and having access to it always. Plan your day around protein is key. And I like to kind of share a story. So over the Thanksgiving weekend, me and my wife, and I live in Utah, so we flew to San Francisco. And for me, like, I don't do well with gluten and dairy type foods. Sometimes a little bit of grains, with kind of a history of leaky gut that I've had. And so I have to be careful of like what foods I bring, I travel. So the strategy is I get a certain type of protein bar or beef sticks, or I might get like fruit jerky that has only like 1 or 2 ingredients, which are fruit. And so I got these on Amazon or at the grocery store, and I got them all for the trip, and I put in my luggage bag. So one of the things that we did was on the trip that we went to Alcatraz Island, just right there in San Francisco. Yep. If you haven't gone there, I highly recommend for a family, for a father, and or taking your wife and kids. That's a great place to do so. And the tricky thing is when you go to Alcatraz, I didn't know this before, they don't allow you to bring any food or drink when you come in, because you have to take a ferry right, and then right there in downtown San Francisco, and you take the little ferry, about 10-minute ferry drive into the island of Alcatraz. And so they have food there, but I put the protein snacks in my pockets, but I didn't eat it while I was there in the island. But once I got off the ferry after doing the whole tour of Alcatraz, man, I had that right in my pocket. Having the beef stick, having the protein bar, and the fruit jerky, and and just kind of walking around the piers there in San Francisco,
Mhm.
like it was just because they have like their own food there at, they just try to get you to buy their stuff there on
Yeah.
the ferry. But the important thing is planning the protein is important. Like one of the things that we also did was we went hiking just outside of San Francisco called Muirwoods National
Okay.
Monument. So again, it's a very remote place. There's no cell phone service. There's no kind of like concessions. So we had to plan our water intake. We had to plan the protein intake. So we came prepared and
Mm.
we had the energy to help. And so those are those types of like situations where important to have the protein to keep yourself full, but also help, all the activity you're doing, walking, hiking for me. So it's just something when you, especially if you're traveling for the holidays or any time of the year, plan that protein before. Don't wait until you get there because one, you might not find what you like. Two, it
Right.
might be a lot more costly. And I just kind of keep that in mind. That's kind of I take pride on. If I'm traveling, I'm making sure I'm bringing my snacks that I can bring on the plane or whenever. So, and that's another thing. If we're talking about snacks, like if you fly on an airplane, they give you those kind of little cookies or some other sweets or processed foods.
Hmm.
And usually I decline because I know that it doesn't serve me well, like, from, I don't know. It's just, I mean, from back in nutrition, I want to find foods that are going to help me feel my best and it's going to help everyone else. And so, yeah, so that's kind of big in plan your protein. If you're at home, that's kind of going back to the previous steps of just like, making the meal plans and all that. And uh, again, I could share more other stories about the importance of like where having that go-to snack, even if like you have a loved one at the hospital or someone, if you have that kind of stick in that protein bar, that beef stick in that pocket, it's going to help you save rather than have to spend a lot of money on something that's going to not one just serve you as best, but cost more.
Yeah, no, I think just having those snacks, it's easy to it's easy to grab. A lot of snacks that come in boxes, come in bags and stuff, but they don't have a lot of nutritional value to them. Some of them are high in calories, but nutritional value usually not typically very high. Like snacks you give your kids a lot, probably not actually the best for them. And so, finding things that are higher in protein, and it can be hard. Sometimes it can be a little harder. You do have to plan ahead sometimes, and but kind of once you get like three or four, you can kind of cycle through those, and then just finding things that you can always take with you as well. Like you said on the airplane, sometimes flights can be long, right? You're gonna want a snack, and it can be tempted. You can be tempting to just kind of have something that maybe, like you said, is not going to serve you as well. And there's obviously a time and place for that. But if this is something you're regularly doing, then yeah, you're probably going to need to have three or four options there that you can get. You definitely don't want to buy it at the airport because you're going to be paying way more than you need to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the key thing of like, what is going to make my travel, my trip, it's going to cost, try to not going to cost me more. And I could pay up front the investment, buying something on Amazon and going to the store,
Right.
that's a big plus there. And so, and I've been to a lot of airports, like there's just, it's hard to find nutritious food,
Mm. Yeah.
and it can be challenging. And so you just have to know, like, and obviously they rack up the price. So might as
Right.
well just prepare and it's going to
Right.
help serve you.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to what you were saying, making, priming your environment, making healthy food at home convenient. So same thing goes with your snacks there. Um, Same thing goes with your snacks. And so, if you can kind of prepare ahead, like typically, unless if you're going on vacation, you typically aren't leaving tomorrow with zero notice, and so you kind of know when you're going out of town, when you're going out of town for work, and so part of your weekly grocery run, if you can get some of those snacks, if you're somebody that does like to snack throughout the day, finding some options that are going to help serve you a little better.
Yeah, so those are the kind of the five fat loss nutrition hacks. Do you want me to repeat them again? So we just get a one more recap.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so number one is prime your environment. Number two is make healthy food at home convenient. So also known as meal prep. Number three is avoid distracted eating.
Mhm.
Four is dialing in your accuracy with your food logging.
Yep.
And then lastly is plan your protein intake and having access to it always.
Awesome. Yep. So five tips there, 5 hacks there that are going to help make fat loss a little bit easier there. Awesome, Nathan. I appreciate you sharing that with us today. Do you have any final tips here that you can kind of share with us before we wrap up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, one other thing here is there's that book that we came across called Atomic Habits.
Oh, yep.
So James Clear kind of talks
Mm-hmm.
about the 4 laws of behavior. If
Mm-hmm.
we're This is kind of a bonus to it. Uh, Again, his 4 laws of behavior is number one, make it obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, make it easy.
Yep.
Number three, make it attractive. And number four, make it satisfying. So if we're talking about nutrition, make it obvious, like priming your environments. Like, okay, yes, I got foods that are going to help me feel myself, or the ones that maybe not going to serve me. Two, make it easy, like plan to eat like ahead. When we're talking about planning the protein, plan
Mm-hmm.
ahead, save the money, now than doing it later. If we're taking an example, three, make it attractive. So if we all are attracted to different colors, so like fruits and vegetables, bell peppers. Like one of the things that I've seen, if we're making it not so attractive, you're stuffing all the and the veggies, like the bell peppers or all the veggies in the cabinet, it's hard to see. It's going to be hard, and your brain's like it's a friction point.
Yeah.
So wherever you can kind of place it, make it attractive, and see it first there, and then not whereas the processed foods, if they come first, it's gonna grab you.
Mm-hmm.
And then number four, make it like I said, satisfying for you and for your overall nutritional health.
Right, right. Awesome. And yeah, great book, James Clear, Atomic Habits there. And on the other side of that, when he talks about making breaking habits as well, it's just the flip of that. Make it not obvious, make it hard, make it unattractive, make it unsatisfying. And so with the healthy food, do what you can to, make it obvious, make it easy. Things that aren't serving you as well, make it hard to get. Like you said, if you're not buying it, if it's not in your house, it's going to be much more difficult. It's going to be more unsatisfying when you have to leave to go to the grocery store at 10 o'clock at night to get some Oreos, right? It's going to be much easier if they're already in the cupboard. So great points there. I've got our five fat loss hacks there, our bonus one there. Where can people find you on social media if they're looking for a coach, looking for someone to kind of help them along the way?
Yeah. So on Instagram, you can find me at Nathan Brennan Fit, all one word. So again, Nathan Brennan Fit. I do have a Facebook group for all hikers out there. So like, dads are listening to this. I do have a group there. It's called the Summit Fit and Confidence. So that's kind of the big thing is who I work with, just developing that confidence. And so I really take pride in just helping all my clients feel confident. And that's kind of the name of the group, again, called Summit Fit and Confidence, is where people can join the group there, and they can find some tips, and where I share a little bit of my hiking adventures and do some posts and all that to kind of help you feel inspired for your hiking adventures. For all your athletes, if you're on Instagram, you can find me there. And I really do take great pride for whoever comes in as a client, and it's great. And I enjoyed this kind of connection here as well. You're serving a great type of population here, Anthony, helping dads, and I see that a lot. Like I love football, and I go to a lot of college football games, and I'm very observant behavior, and I think what you do is so important, because we need to have coaches like us to empower people, and not a lot of times people just kind of feel overwhelmed or just not. They know they got something more in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what you're doing is focusing on fathers is just so important, because they're the head of household, their families, and being the
Right.
provider and having a background, for me is like, I don't have any kids yet, but at this point in my life, but I know that being a dad, there's a lot of responsibility, and it can be overwhelming, but having a coach can be the greatest investment you can make. And you'll be so grateful that you've done. And I've coached, young fathers too, or old ones that their kids have already grown up,
Mm-hmm.
and still being that role model to your kids, whether it be young or older, and grandkids as well. It's so important. Like I just I just cannot emphasize the work you're doing is so valuable here, Anthony. So
Awesome. I appreciate the kind words, Nathan, and I appreciate you coming on the show today. He mentioned his Facebook group there and Instagram. The links to those will be in the show notes, so you'll have access to those. But thanks again, Nathan, for coming on today, and we'll have to have you on again sometime.
my pleasure.
That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.